Alright, so I have no idea why I start every video with alright. I guess that's my phrase. Okie dokie. There you have it. So today's driving day has been cut short by 2 hours because of being blocked. And I've already addressed that. So because the day is much shorter, I didn't want to risk anything at all. Another component is that would have arrived at a different time zone. This would be mountain time zone, and while you're still way out beyond the yonder, you're like, oh well, maybe I can. And then the day pans out, and it is super duper windy, and you're driving slower, and naturally you stop, right? But then your 2 hour stints are not 2 hours, they're more like whatever is the availability of places for you to stop in. So I stopped at a truck stop. I stopped at the rest area, and I filmed both of those. So I am at Petro truck stop. I'm just gonna call it general vicinity of El Paso. This is not near El Paso. This is like south of there. Here's my lingering thoughts. The drive from San Antonio, Texas, if it wasn't for the weather, is actually kind of pretty. Once you get to Sonora, and then from Sonora all the way to Fort Stockton, maybe even before, it's actually kind of cool. Then once you start driving from Fort Stockton towards middle of nowhere, it kind of like right, and then all of a sudden it's like bam, right? There's mountains and all this other cool stuff for you to look at, and then if you could picture how like Texas is kind of like this, right, and Mexico is here. So I-10 does this number, and then it does this number and follows, and you could literally look across over there and see Mexico off in the distance, and Mexican towns and everything like that. What was interesting to me is how the Mexican side is actually beautiful to look at, and the American side is just trying to pick my words here. It's like a dump. It's a complete wasteland with like literally nothing. Littered with trash, just trash everywhere, for like indefinitely. And then you get to the city in which I'm in right now. I think it starts with S. And you're like, is this even United States? I guess it is. People that live in this neck of the woods apparently don't mind living in piles and piles of garbage and all sorts of everything. I don't know how people live like that, and not to mention the fact that the climate is rather inhospitable. It is blowing like crazy. I'm sure summertime it is hot as hell. Dust storms galore, and then as soon as you get off I-10, it's like a human ant nest. I basically had three options. Love's, I think there was a Flying J in front of it, or whichever that one is, and then also Petro. So I looked at Google Maps, and Love's had a very limited availability for nose out. The other location had a little bit more, and then Petro just had them like galore. So if I had to guess, there's probably close to 100 nose out sites in Petro. And as I arrived, there were tons of them available. So I just cruised around until I kind of found me a corner to. Is this the best site out here? Probably not. But my philosophy on that is, I just want to be able to, find a place to park, kind of thing. Now, if this was my return trip, I probably would have placed, like a different spot. In fact, I think what I'll do is, after I go into the little store over there and buy some food and whatever, I would love to just take a quick gander to see where else I could have parked, like in case I ever need. I don't feel particularly, I'm not gonna say I don't feel safe. I don't feel like this is a place where I would want to live and be and just visit, kind of thing. So my stint here will be very short. I did have an option of driving further, but then I looked at the clock and it was like 5:37, 5:44, and I was like, you know what, ain't gonna happen. So I pulled up here, parked and all of that. There's some crazy decisions to be made about what happens next. So one of the biggest problems is Navajo Reservation sits south of like general area of Page, Arizona, Mexican Hat, and Cortez, and Pagosa Springs, south. Okay, and it sort of ish runs to I-40 that goes from like Amarillo to, well, not Amarillo, what is it, Albuquerque, okay, Tucumcari, Albuquerque, Gallup, and further out, right? I'm just general area. And unfortunately, there's no rest areas, there's no picnic areas, there's no truck stops, there's nothing. The limited places where you could actually do something like this and like stop for the night are literally right off the highway. Like, there's the highway. There's also a BLM spot that's, I think, north of, I'm tempted to call it Cuba. I don't know if it's actually called Cuba. Like, it's a civilization thing, and then you kind of go zoom. And the problem is, it's highly susceptible to weather conditions. So if the like if it's been snowing, raining, and everything like that, you like, there's no way. Like I'm not even gonna, So that limits me. To stay on the highway and not venture far away. Around Farmington, New Mexico, there's a campground called Angels something. But it's like gravel road, off the road, like 6 or 8 miles each way. And it's been storming there and snowing and raining, and I can't even imagine what that road condition is. In Farmington itself, there's only 2 places where you could spend the night. One is called Bubble something Trucker, blah blah blah, and all of the very few places for you to be in are back-in sites. The other is Walmart, and Walmart increasingly these days doesn't. Yeah. So there are BLM lands, obviously, but weather conditions and weather, the whole cyclone that's been ravaging this area. The weird thing is, I am, like, today I've been blessed. my being stuck and landlocked over there put me behind by 2 hours. So I was driving behind the weather, like, because I had to drive like this, right? And the weather was going like this entire time. And so what would happen is the weather did this, and I'm squeaking right behind it, squeaking right behind it, squeaking right behind it, squeaking. So all the warnings, all the, like, I basically drove entire thing, never got rained on, never had any of that, anything other than the fact that it was windy, no hail, nothing. The area north, the northern route that goes from Dallas Fort Worth to Amarillo, etc., they got hammered. And that's the reason why I didn't take it. But the problem is driving the south route requires you to have more miles. And when you have more miles, you don't have enough days. So I have a lot of decisions to make today about a lot of things and how I want to proceed going forward. I still have literally as I'm recording this video, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I have multiple locations scouted out, obviously well in advance, to have given myself all the information that I could possibly need. But the fact that there's no place so I could theoretically drive 450, 60, 80 miles tomorrow, which is what I intend to do. Fingers crossed. It's just a question of where. If I go through Arizona, you can't, there's two places. One, there's a raggedy, middle of nowhere post office that allegedly allows you to park on a concrete site, but there's no way I'm getting in there. Like, I looked at Google Maps, I was like, The other one is this gas station in a place called Chambers, which is right off Interstate 40. And it's like the last foray to make it drivable from that location on a Wednesday, fairly short, 3 hours or so distance to get to Gooseneck State Park. But that would mean I would arrive late in the evening, and I would have to prepare myself in ways I physically am not prepared, because I need to get me going for the hike, to get everything, It's probably possible, but I don't know. And then on Thursday is when my hike was supposed to be. And so it would be probably half a day to 3/4 of a day, and then jump on the motorhome and then drive all the way to Moab, which is another couple hundred miles. Now, I've been to Goosenecks, spent several days there, have been to all the places and whatever. The only thing I haven't done is the hike. If I skip it out on this trip, it means I could come back there, plan and just make a stop and in a far more enjoyable setting. But then if that's the case, I have to figure out a way how to get to Moab on Thursday. knowing that I can drive tomorrow, and then I have a short day on Wednesday because I have to work, and then I have a whole day Thursday. But then the problem is, like, where do you stop? And is it even scientifically possible to get to Moab from here to Moab, so that maybe I could have like a Thursday do anything day in Moab? Because there's still tons of things that I could, if you know what I mean. Anyways, right now my head is spinning all sorts of ways. Driving here, it's been elevation gains, elevation lost, elevation gain, elevation lost. My head is kind of fuzzy. I'm suffering from a little bit, just a teensy bit of altitude sickness. You know, this Florida man living at sea level had to spend the night at like 6,700, 7,000 feet, something like that. I didn't even know that like that portion of Texas is so high. And then driving from Sonora to here, I felt my ears multiple times. So it's just been like this. I always thought this area, this part of Texas was flat. Apparently not. Either way, let me go to the store, figure things out over there, and then kind of cogitate over ebb and flow of the universe, and get back to you on what I've decided, ultimately speaking.